Good day, everyone. Welcome to Infoblox pricing and discount matrix updates for partners. Here to welcome you is Dirk Vinslov, Director of Worldwide Partner Business Development.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We are very well aware of where we are in the quarter for a lot of you, so thank you for your time and attention today. Our intention here is really to talk about a lot of changes that are going to make a difference in the way that you do business with Infoblox, and I think there are a lot of exciting things that you'll hear. And we're also giving some heads up here because this isn't something that's happening tomorrow. It's, we're giving you some time to digest and internalize it as well. We're breaking it up into some pretty good chunks here. So during the process, we'll have time for Q&A. So ask your questions. Please be, participating in this. We have a lot of panelists, as you can see here, that are ready to take your questions as well. And now I'll turn it over to Penny Dockiel, who's going to run you through the different changes that we're going to implement here in a little bit. Thanks, Penny, and welcome.
Thanks, Dirk. I appreciate it. Let me do a quick introduction of all the names that you see on the screen. And if all of you folks can turn your cameras on, that would be terrific. We have, as Dirk just mentioned, that was Dirk, so we all know Dirk and know what he's doing. We also have on the call Brandon Berg. Brandon is our Senior Partner Program Manager. We have Kevin Christian. Kevin is the Director of Pricing and Licensing. Andrew, I'm not sure if Andrew's on the call today. If he is, he's our Business Strategy and Pricing Analyst. We have Sandy James, everybody knows Sandy, Director of Partner Program. We have Bob Lucas is actually not joining us. My apologies, I'll take him off the list. We have Paul McClellan, who is our Worldwide FO Boss Sales Dude. And we have Samantha Pryor, who is part of our licensing and operations, a pricing and operations specialist. And the reason I'm taking a minute to introduce those folks to you is they're not only subject matter experts, they're also the co-creators of the deck that we're going to be walking through. I wanted to point out that this is really part of our Summer of Simplification that you've all been hearing about and seeing great things from all summer long so far. Several of the areas we're working on tools, process, pricing, communications. What we're going to be focusing on today is the pricing piece. We'll be talking to you today about discount matrix simplifications, changes to pricing, a number of other changes that we're making that are important and relevant to making pricing and doing business with Infoblox more simple. The changes we're talking about, the new system goes live on August 13th. We want to make sure that you're prepared, that you're ready to go, that when that system goes live, you don't have any surprises or angst about it. So we're going to give you as much information we can today about the behind the scenes changes that are happening. So we're not talking about the new system, the new tools. We're really showing you what changes have been made that will be driving some of the changes you see in the system when it comes up. We want to make sure that you're prepared, aware, comfortable with what's happening. And the other thing to be aware of is that this is not the end of the training. As you can see on the bottom, there'll be additional training available for all of you. We have some more training in July. We have training in August. So before the system goes live, we'll make sure that you have everything that you need. But for now, we just wanted to make sure that you had everything you needed as it related to the pricing and discount matrix, all those fun changes that we're making. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about 5 different things that are going to impact the way you do business. First of all, we'll talk about a pricing policy. And for those of you who have been with us for any length of time, you know we didn't have a pricing policy, but now we do, which is awesome. It's going to make all of our lives simpler and to make communication much more clear. We have collapsed the discount categories. That was one of the key complaints that we had from people, not just employees, but partners, even customers, that some of our discount categories were very confusing. It took a long time to get through, so we've cleaned that up. We've improved our SKU structure, and I'll show you some examples of some of the changes we've made there. We have made some adjustments to the price list. Now, some of those are because of changes to the discount categories and or SKU changes, but there are some changes to price regardless besides those basically. And then at the very end, I want to go through some operational details just to make sure that you know what's coming, what the schedule looks like, and again, to make sure that you can put this behind you, go focus on Q4, but I want to make sure you have the information you need before the system comes up. Let's start with a nice one. This is the Infoblox list price policy. So what we've done with the pricing policy is that we've set in place something with a regular cadence. What that means is every quarter you will get an update from us regarding the pricing policy. If we're not making any changes, you'll get a notice from us saying we're not making any changes. If we are making changes, you will get a notice from us the first week of the quarter That means August, November, February, and May. And then you will be given an effective date, which is 30 days after the notice date. So no more changes on the fly, no more surprises. We'll have on a monthly basis, you'll get a monthly cadence, you'll get a notice from us saying, we're going to make changes, here's what they are, or we're not making any changes this month, things stay the way they are. So hopefully an improvement and something that you guys will all be grateful to have. I think this is a good thing. I put a disclaimer in here, not because I'm an attorney, but because we do have a lot of numbers in the deck. We have price numbers, we have list price numbers, we have discounts, and I wanted to be really clear that those aren't real. They're basically numbers that we used as examples so that I could show you what the new numbers would look like if I upgraded something by 5%, what it would look like. And I used numbers that were very simple to use so that I could do that in front of an audience. So the numbers that you're seeing are not real numbers. Don't assume that the price is there. Don't be taking screenshots and saying, oh, it's $1,000. No, those are just numbers that we put in to show you the examples. The other thing to be aware of when we walk through the SKU structure changes, we have done the best we can in terms of giving you the real new SKUs. However, system testing is still in progress, which means that some of those SKUs may change between now and the date we go live. So again, don't take screenshots, assume these are the real numbers. We've gotten as close as we can. We know what the logic is behind them, and we'll give you real examples. You'll have the real SKU numbers shortly. And with that, let's start with our first category, collapsed discount categories. Again, this was something that we heard a lot of feedback about. Our discount categories were very complex. People had issues with them. And so what we've done is collapse those. Let me show you what I mean. This is our current discount matrix. And I realize it's an eye chart. I can't even read it from here, and I'm sitting next to the screen. We have 11 product categories. Standalone hardware was confused with the hardware category. We had 6 different subscription discount categories changed by subscription type and term. So when you wanted to get a price for something to do a quote, it was a challenge. Our new discount matrix, much simpler. So what we've done is come up with 4 product discount categories. Accessories are merged with hardware and software. We have 1 subscription discount regardless of type or term. And I just wanted to make a point that the hunting reward is included with product and subscription categories. The hunting reward hasn't changed. That's in addition to the discount matrix that we have here. So let me show you an example. Well, let me walk you through what we've actually done first, and then I'll show you an example. So I mentioned earlier some of the changes we made. The subscription discounts no longer differ by type or term. So a subscription followed the subscription feed, and product subscription have the same discount. Partner discounts are the same regardless of term, and term discounts are applied regardless of the partner discount. And I'll show you a sample in just a second. Accessory spares standalone are included in the overall product discount category, so no more confusion there. Teaming and hunting remains in place, and the renewal discount rewards tied to incumbent provider, hunting and teaming, are not applicable. One more thing on the hunting reward, because I know this is a hot one for everyone. The 5% for identifying a new opportunity happens when you register the opportunity in the system. So hunting is now going to be very prescriptive, very clear. It was hunting, it was not. You identify an opportunity and register it in the system, you qualify for the 5%. It only applies to product and subscription. It doesn't apply to renewals, professional services, technical account manager, or training. So again, very straightforward, much simpler, and a very clear, very easy to understand. We can all follow this process. Let's talk about the SKU structure. So I changed it from simplified to improved, and you'll see why. There's been some differences we made with the SKU structure, and I want to explain what we're doing and why we're doing it. So one of the first things is the hardware is no longer bundled with software into an appliance. So those of you who have ordered from us in the past, you might order an appliance SKU, it has software and hardware bundled into one. What we've done is separate those. So we have a software bundle as one SKU, a hardware bundle is hardware is a separate SKU. We have made some changes to the SKU structure and naming conventions. I will show you what that looks like shortly. And then I wanted to put a special star here for our dear Samantha. Generic maintenance SKUs will now have a unique partner SKU. And I understand that in the past, that's been a huge sticking point for a number of you folks out there. And I wanted to make sure that you recognize that we did fix that problem. So if you can do a quick Virtual applause for Samantha. I'm sure she'd love to hear from you. Let's talk first about what these look like, the delayered product example. So if you look at the left-hand side, that's today. The green is what's going to be coming. On the left-hand side, you'll see we sold appliances. That included software and hardware. After August 13th, what we're going to have is a software bundle and optional hardware. And I had some questions in the first session about why we had optional hardware, because the software can run on a virtual machine. So if you're buying the software, running it on a virtual machine, you simply buy the software bundle. And if you look at the software bundle versus software standalone, they're very similar. It's basically the same software. And then in addition, what we've done is add hardware. So what that means is you can sell your customer exactly what they need. You don't have to look for a bundle. You don't have to put it all together. You sell them the software bundle they need, and then you select the hardware that they need. Very simple, much more easy to do business, much more easy to put together your quotes. The other thing I wanted to mention that we have in fact made some changes to the SKUs. Some are the same. So if you look at that very top one, I'm sure you're thinking that woman on the phone is crazy, because some of them have stayed the same. However, a number of them have changed. So if you see after the top one, they've pretty much all changed different. They're all a little bit different. We're trying to make them a little bit clearer. So if you notice the second one, HWB, that means hardware, folks. The last three, you'll notice I put little asterisks by, and that's because those are examples of partner SKUs. So we've added a column to the quotes that will say partner SKU, and we're still going to show you the configuration attributes so that if you wanted to know what the details of that particular product were, you could see that. So again, hardware SKUs, some have stayed the same, all SKUs, some of them have stayed the same, some of them have changed. So if you've memorized SKUs and you're used to typing them in, you won't be able to do that anymore. You need to look at the new SKUs and learn what those are. And like I said, a lot of this was done specifically to make things simpler and easier to put together the right solution for a customer. Let me show you a quick code example that's going to be looking at what comes out of the new system. The blue column over in the far left is the partner SKU. So we'll have a special column with the partner SKU. Now I apologize, in this particular example, the partner SKU and the part number are identical. In some cases they will be, in other cases they will not. But we will have a column that shows the partner SKU. Then we have the part number, the description, all that. The pink columns right there are the configuration attributes. So the way the pricing is done with this new model is that based on the size, based on the maintenance, the pricing will change. So when you're actually putting in an order, you need to know what the configuration you're looking at is. However, for you guys, from your perspective, you'll be looking at the partner SKU. So again, we will show you everything you need to know on a quote, and I just wanted to show you an example so you'd know how quotes have changed. When you see your first quote from the new system, you wouldn't be totally shocked. And we wanted to stop now because we've gone through 3 of the topics that we're going to go through today and look at some of the Q&A questions you've asked and see what kinds of questions we can answer for you real time. And I will hand this off to Brandon.
Now we're going to have a chance to take some live questions that have come in over time. So one of the first ones that has come in as we see all these changes to the SKUs and everything that's happening, the price list updates, what is the date when we'll be receiving the new price list? When are we going to get this?
So the price list is going to be released today. So we're still just finalizing and then finishing some formatting, but that will be sent out today, and it will be loaded to the same place that you access the current price list. So wherever you're through the partner portal, wherever you're accessing the price list today, that's the same place that you'll find this new one, and it'll be available today. Another question that's come in, we were going through kind of the delayering of the SKUs, and it looked like you have to like sell the hardware separately than the software, or how exactly is that working in the new system with hardware and software? The hardware and software, instead of having an appliance SKU like we do today, we're shifting towards being a software-focused company. So all the software, you can purchase that and it can run by itself without hardware, but you can add optional hardware if you want. There are still a few cases of products that require the hardware. So in some cases, we have hardware bundles because the hardware is necessary. But in every other case, you can buy the software standalone, or you can add the hardware as optional if you want. Standalone hardware is still available to purchase. So if someone needed to just buy, a box, they were able to do that as well.
All right, I think we'll get back into the presentation at this time, but please keep your questions coming into the Q&A panel, and we'll be able to answer them in the next segment.
So let's talk about our fourth topic out of 5. So we're getting there. We want to talk about the adjustments we're making to list price. So we have made some changes for reasons that we talked about just a second ago. The discount structure changes, some of the SKU changes, but additionally, we've made changes for other reasons. So let's start with the first one up there. As we're going into this new world, we did our best to make sure that the net price for hardware, accessories, spares, and subscriptions stayed the same. So in order to keep the net price the same, some of the list prices have had to change. The partner discounts are now the same regardless of term. We have changed Active Trust and Active Trust Cloud to actual user pricing, actual per user pricing. And then the hardware, you know, as Sam mentioned, if you buy hardware with software, we're going to give you a discount on the hardware. If you buy the hardware standalone, it'll be a higher price. And then we have made some actual changes to some renewal costs just for North America, older Trinsic models, only for renewals less than 3 years. And again, let me walk you through those. So start off with the net price. If today's net price, this is where the numbers are mine. These are not real numbers. This was so I could do this in public. If today's net price is $850, that's because the list price is $1,000 and there's a 15% discount. So 15%, 1,000 minus 15% is $850. Our goal when we were doing new pricing was to maintain that $850 net price. However, because of the discount structure changes, the new target discount is 35%. If we work backwards from there, the new list price has to be $1,310. So if you just look at this on the surface, it's, oh my gosh, the list price has been increased by $310. Yes, but the reason it was increased is so we could keep that net price the same. And yes, those of you that are math whizzes out there, it's really 852. So we weren't able to keep the dollars exactly the same in all cases. We did our best. But our goal here and the reason we were changing the list price was because we were trying to maintain the same net price as much as possible. Partner discounts are the same regardless of term. So in today's world, you have a list price of $100, list price for 3 years would be $300. There's no discount. The partner discount is where we gave the discount. So you get a 15% discount for year 1 and a 30% for year 2. If you look at after August 13th, what we're doing is doing the discount on the list price. So maintenance for a year is $100. The discount for a 3-year purchase is 10%, which means that your discount would be $90 per year or $270. And just a little note that I have at the bottom, the standard industry discount is for 3 years, averages about 6 to 8%. So we're actually giving our customers a little bit better discount than what the industry standard is. What that means when you look at the actual pricing, again, the partner discount stays the same, 15% regardless of term. When you look at the actual pricing, the partner year for year 1 is still $85. For a 3-year, it's a little bit more. It'd be $229. And I was asked to give you just a quick reminder, we do have a promo going right now. There's an additional 5% discount on a 2-year maintenance renewals for the older Trinsic models, and that will expire on Valentine's Day next year. So you understand what the changes are here. We moved the discount into the list price. We made the partner discount the same regardless of term. And yes, that ultimately changes the price a little bit. Let me show you what happens with Active Trust and Active Trust Cloud. In today's world, if you need 7,200 licenses, you would be paying a flat fee as though you had 10,000 users. So you'd be paying $150,000. In the new model, you'd be paying a tiered price for the tier of 5,000 to 9,999 of $20 a user. For 7,200 users, the exact price you'd be paying is $144,000. So when you look at the actual list price, it's not necessarily we were trying to save money or make money. What we were trying to do was be responsive to the perception that customers were being forced to pay for licenses they weren't using. So now they will be paying for the actual licenses that they believe they need. Let's do another Active Trust example for Active Trust Plus. If you have 26,100 users, you'd be paying in the current system for 50,000 users. And in the new system, you'd be paying for $5 per user for the 26,100 users. So in reality, folks, as you can see, you're paying a little bit more. The end price wasn't the goal here. The goal here was the perception and making sure that customers felt comfortable with what we were doing and the way we asked them to pay for their product. Last example is Active Trust Cloud Standard. You had 1,430 users. You would be paying for 2,500 in the old world. In the new world, you pay $10 a user, so it's a little bit less. So as you can see, the net price it goes back and forth. It's not always better. It's not always worse. The real motivation for this was for customers, the perception that they were paying for licenses they weren't using. It does make it a little bit more complex for customers. They have to know how many licenses they want, and of course, buy a few more just in case. But the ultimate perception is you're paying for what you use. You're not paying based on an arbitrary number that we came up with. I did mention we're going to give you a discount on hardware. So if you're buying software and you add hardware to it, we give you a discount on the hardware. If you buy that same hardware standalone, you're going to be paying more. And these prices haven't all been worked out yet in terms of what the uplift will be. Just know that it will be more than whatever the list price is if you're purchasing it with the software. We did make some changes to maintenance, subscription, and SaaS renewal prices. They went up 5% just for North America if it's less than a 3-year renewal and only for the older Trinsic models. So that excludes the 8X5, the 14X5, the 22X5, and the 4XX5. Pretty simple math here again. These are not real numbers. This was just so I could do this. If the current price is $100, the new price will be $105. If the current price is $1,000, the new price will be $1,050. So again, we are in fact doing an increase on our maintenance and subscription costs. It's 5% if less than 3 years, only for the older Trinsic models. Brandon, let's take another moment and make sure that the pricing changes we just walked through, that everyone's comfortable with that, they know what's going on. If you have any questions, again, we have a number of SMEs on the phone that we'd like to have available to answer those for you.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Penny. So we do have a number of questions that have come in. And one of the questions that has come in, I don't know if maybe the pricing team can help us answer this one. Can a customer renew an old block of licenses under Active Trust under the new actual user terms? Yeah, it sounds like a customer's purchased in our current kind of block requirements, so that they've got 5,000 or 10,000. Is it possible for them going forward to renew at the actual usage as opposed to the block, I think?
Yes. Yeah. So when they are ready for their renewal, they would purchase at whatever user level they have. So if they were in a 5 to 10,000, if they were an up to 10,000 user tier, but they really were only had 6,000 users at time of renewal, they would use the new SKU structure and new pricing and renew for however many users they wanted. So 6,000, 7,000, 10,000, et cetera.
And kind of similar on that front, continuing down that path, when they would be adding users, would it kind of be a cumulative user price? So as they get into kind of different tier breaks, are we kind of adding all of that up when it comes to renewal so that they get the kind of best price as they jumped into the next tier?
Andrew or Kevin, do you have any insight into that, how that'll look for a renewal if we're increasing the number of users?
Yeah, so that's the intent. That's one of the automated operational aspects of the systems we're using. We're still working out how that all comes together, but that is the idea.
All right. I think that's the couple of the questions that we have. We have a couple of more that I think we'll be able to answer via text as we move into the next section, Penny.
Our last topic for today is operational details, and I wanted to walk you through some of the information that you're going to be asking, I'm sure, in your brains about what's happening and when it's happening. So let's start with in-flight quotes. So an in-flight quote is a quote that's been approved, are within the date limits, whether or not they've been released to the customer. So if you have a quote and the customer hasn't seen it, but it falls in these date limits, we consider that an in-flight quote. If the customer's seen it, it's an in-flight quote. So what we're doing here is adding some flexibility with regards to the quote changes, because with the new system, every quote will have to be redone and re-input. The new system doesn't pull from the old, mainly because, as you saw, the discount structures have changed, the SKUs have changed, so everything's going to have to be re-input in the new system. So what we're saying is for customers that have a net new quote with a valid approval started that was approved May 1st, 2018 or later until the cutover date, we will accept those quotes to August 31st of 2018. And we're putting the same policy in place for renewal quotes. So it's a little bit outside the 30-day window, a little bit outside the 120-day windows, but we recognize that this is a significant change that we're implementing, and we want to make sure we give everybody a chance to get those quotes that customers have gone through the system as efficiently and effectively as possible. As I mentioned earlier, any in-flight quote not booked by the existing system shutdown, and I'll give you some information on that in just a moment, will need to be input into the new Salesforce system by the rep on or after August 13th. Now, one little thing that we're doing to make this a little bit easier is during our SKO event in August, we are putting time aside to work with the reps. We have them all set up in a big room with a bunch of experts, and we're going to give them time to actually build the quotes in the pre-production system. So some of those quotes that are in-flight quotes that you need for the next month, they'll have time to input those into the pre-production system during our kickoff, and those quotes will be moved into production on August 13th. So you don't have to wait. We won't have to wait until August 13th to get everything done. We're going to have we have a block of time set aside to actually do some of this work before the August 13th date. So on August 13th, the system will come up with a number of these in-flight quotes already input.
Penny, for renewals, the renewal quotes go out 120 days in advance. So the October 31st date for renewals actually extends into December. So, but for renewals, it does go beyond October 31st because they have a much longer horizon for the quote release date.
Okay, thank you very much. So it would be December 31st then?
We haven't locked it at December 31st, but it'll certainly be in December.
Okay, I will make the change on the slide, and thank you very much. So good news, folks. Renewals, we have even longer that we're going to accept anything that's in flight. Thank you. The other piece that I wanted to mention on here, just down at the bottom, any opportunity with a primary quote. So if it's got numerous quotes, ignore that. If it has a primary quote, that primary quote will have a PDF created and attached to the opportunity into the new system. So when the new system comes up, the opportunity will be there and you'll have a PDF of the primary quote. It'll make it a lot easier to recreate the quote in the new system. Now, if you don't have a primary quote, we won't have that. If you have other quotes, we won't have them. So the primary quote is the thing to remember as you're getting ready for the cleanup before the cutover. Primary quotes, we will have a PDF in the new system that will help you as you need to create the new version. I wanted to also talk to you about purchase order management. So as I mentioned, it's a new quote 100% of the time. So any purchase order not booked prior to the shutdown will not match the system generated invoice. So if your customer has a PO that's issued before the new system comes online, the customer has the following options. They can create a new PO that matches the quote, and that may be challenging for some, or they can provide an email authorizing acceptance of a quote and invoice that won't match the PO because the SKUs are going to be different. We will honor the price, but the SKUs will be different. And for some customers, that may be a problem. So any purchase order that you can get booked before system shutdown, please do that. And any that are not, this is the procedure we're going to have to go through for POs that are not booked before the new system comes online. I want to do a quick review of everything that we've talked about today because we've talked about a lot. We talked about the new pricing policy. We talked about the collapse in the discount categories. We talked about the improvement to the SKU structure, the adjustments to list prices, and we've gone over the operational details. What we'd ask you to do is to make sure your systems are updated by August 12th. The go live effective date is August 13th. Distributors on the phone, make sure you share the information with your resellers. Invite them to that Bloxcast review in July. We ask, of course, that you be ready to transact by the cutover date. We don't want to have any gaps in our money coming in or going out. And know that you have a team supporting you. So as I said, we've recorded this session. We're breaking it into modules. It'll be loaded into LMS on the partner portal so you can review the content as needed. And then the other piece is during the transition period, we're going to have people available to help with the quotes. So as I said, all quotes have to be re-input. That's 100% of them, any in-flight quotes. That's a lot of work. We recognize that. We picked this particular time because it's the Infoblox end of year, start of year. So statistically, it's the lowest number of quotes that we should have impacted. However, we realize that that's not the same dates for all of you, but we did our best to pick a date that would be as easy as we could or as little impact as we could. And the other thing we'd ask you to do is just to go back and review the changes, make sure that you understand what the changes are. Again, if you have any questions, we have a whole cross-functional team of people that are working together to make sure that we can answer your questions as quickly and as promptly as we can. I have one more chance for Q&A. So Brandon, did you want to do one more round and see if there's any other questions we wanted to address?
Yeah, definitely. So just kind of on that front, as far as the kind of important dates that you just reviewed, price lists will be sent out today or published today. Dave, do you want to clarify how they are going to access that in today's world, their price list?
Yeah, so for the new price list that will be effective on August 13th, you will access it in the same place that you'll access today's existing effective price list. So until the new system goes live, it'll be stored there, so you'll have full access to it and you'll be able to review and ask any questions. As you're reviewing the price list, if you do have any questions about SKUs or pricing changes, feel free to email me. And as we mentioned earlier, we're going to be putting out an FAQ based largely on the questions that we received today and the questions that we've received from the internal team as well. So hopefully that'll be able be a good tool and be able to help. But any other questions that aren't answered today or in the FAQ, feel free to reach out to me.
Great, yeah. And so for folks, just as a reminder, you'll access through Partner Central, where you have access to price lists. There's a big button when you log in to Partner Central. If you have issues with logging into Partner Central, you can always email channelprograms@infoblox.com for assistance on accessing that. Your CAM is also a great resource to help you if you need price lists and you're having troubles. But we'll be publishing that today, and we'll send out an email once that is published on Partner Central. Okay, a couple more questions that have come in. When do you expect distribution to be sending new SKU quotes?
I think the question is related, when do we start sending out with the new look and feel? So we're not going to be changing our systems and our quotes until after that cutover time in August. So you won't even have anything to do until we get our systems transferred over. So it's going to be pretty immediate switch over from the old to the new. So that initial transition time is going to take a little bit, but that's when it's going to happen. So mid-August, basically.
Great. And then another kind of clarifying question on that. Is there an opportunity due to a deal closing in September, which is quoted in the first week of August, do we quote the old or the new SKUs first week of August?
So the system doesn't go into formal production until the 13th, and anything that is going to be booked at or after the 13th of August will have to have a new quote associated with it. So you can generate a quote that first week of August with a subsequent to August or post-August 13th close date, and it will require that a new quote has to be generated. And as Penny had a slide about, there are two options at that point: either an email from the customer authorizing the equivalent quotes and that the invoice would be paid against the new SKUs, or they get a secondary quote with the new SKUs, and that is what the PO eventually comes in at in late August or September. But no matter what, new quotes have to be generated in the new system, full stop, no exceptions.
Got it. Thanks, Paul. And I think we've pretty much gone through all the questions that we have had come in. And again, for any of the questions that we maybe didn't get to or are researching on the back end, we are compiling an FAQ that we'll be able to provide to give everybody a little bit more color on some of these items. But thanks for all of the questions that have come in. Back to you, Penny.
So I wanted to, as we're wrapping up today, just do a little bit of a closing before I hand this back off to Dirk. We we went through today's session with the strong intent of making it easier to do your job, giving you more time with your customers. We'd ask you to review and make sure you know what you need to know before the August 13th date. Make sure your systems are ready and you're good to start so we can actually process orders with the new system. The goal for today was to make sure that you were knowledgeable about the new system, the reasons behind it, understand that we were listening to you and making changes based on what you were asking us to do. And then again, what we wanted to make sure we had was that you were understanding what was coming and why it was coming, and that you'd be prepared and aware so you can relax and you can focus on Q4. And with that, Dirk, I will turn it back over to you.
I'd like to actually ask the question, who actually is going to be relaxed in this Q4?
Fair question. Relaxed, maybe. Relaxed about what's coming, so you're not stressing about it. How's that?
Really, when it comes down to it, everyone, we really thank you for the time. And this is not going to be the only session. You know, as Penny mentioned, we're going to have these sessions in bite-sized chunks, so you can actually not have to listen to the whole thing if you have questions about certain aspects of it. Up on our LMS system. So, but in the meantime, it's really up to you to ask us directly. You know, we have local teams that have also been trained on this, whether it be the sales teams or the CAM teams as well. And you can ask any of us a question. You know, it doesn't matter where you are in the world from that perspective. If you want to schedule some time to walk through some of the things, how it looks in your system, how we will implement certain aspects, you know, please do ask us directly. We're here to help. And we do have some runway here. So before we get that in middle of August or so, you know, we have some time to really think about some things. And we've also spent some time with some of you already on some of these questions. So we really appreciate your inputs, and we'll continue to incorporate, you know, some best practices that you guys have out there. So thanks for coming. We really appreciate it. And thanks for being our partners.